I'm Evan DeWald, and I am joined by Tara Lindsley, and we are the voices behind the Unpacked podcast. On the Unpacked podcast, one of the things we love to do is talk about life and storytelling, and sometimes life gets messy and vulnerable and all those things. So we have conversations with counselors, with psychologists, with industry leaders, storytellers, and just regular humans that are making a difference in the world.
Yeah, and we're just hoping to grow and reflect and heal together. So you can find our podcast anywhere you subscribe to your podcasts. New episodes come out every Thursday. Enjoy.
Make sure to like and subscribe.
See you there. Hey, Tara.
Hey.
How's it going?
Pretty good.
Man, it's been another week.
Yeah, super fast. It feels like we were just here.
It does feel like we were just here. We've been doing a lot of recording.
Yeah, it's true. We've had a couple, like every Tuesday, we've done a couple.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
So.
And even an evening this last week.
Oh, we did 3 last week. Oh my gosh. And then spent the weekend together too.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was great.
The weekend was fun.
Yeah, Kristen came up with a really fun idea.
Yeah, Friendsgiving.
Yeah. It was so fun. And you guys had your garden and you harvested. Were you a part of it? I gave her all the credit, but I assumed it was her.
Should give her all the credit.
Okay, cool. I did think it was her that came up with the idea.
I was like working out in the shop.
She was like, let's have a party and let's harvest the garden and come over. We'll have Friendsgiving.
Yeah. It's funny because she said, actually, next year I got to plant my garden thinking about Friendsgiving.
I love that.
What are we going to have at Friendsgiving?
I'm going to plan my shopping trip around what we're going to have at Friendsgiving.
Also, like, what a gift to be able to, like, we sat outside.
The whole afternoon. It was
Big
great.
Table, sat outside, ate, had drinks, laughed. I know I've said this before, but that little guy of yours, he kills me. I absolutely love him to death. And now every Sunday when you guys come, I have to charge the battery on the RC truck because he always wants to drive the RC truck. So he comes walking in and he asks me right away, can we drive the truck? And
the C truck, because he drops the R.
Yeah, he doesn't say anything. It's just the C truck. And we decided we're going to wait for a little bit this week. So anyway, the battery was still charging for this thing. I think you were sitting right beside me, so you heard him say this. He comes to me afterwards and he's like, hey, can we drive the C truck? And I was like, yeah, we should totally do that, shouldn't we? And then, like, I didn't move, like, immediately. Like, and I mean immediately, like 5 seconds. What does he say to me? He's like, excuse me, you're not moving. Is that what he said? What did he say?
I don't see you moving.
I don't see you moving. I do not see you moving. I was like, oh, damn, this kid's, he's really leaning on me here.
He knows how to get shit done. That's exactly how he is.
Funny.
Yeah, it was really funny. And then both around and are like, do we say that? Who says that in our house?
I don't see you moving.
Well, it's like, truthfully, probably me who has been like, let's go, boys.
It definitely would be something you would hear at my house when my kids were younger.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That would be less. Like, I knew what he was saying. He's like, yeah, get your ass out of that chair and get moving.
Come on, Uncle Evan, let's go. And then did you chase me through the yard when I was walking to the trampoline?
You know, anyone out in the backyard was fair game.
Oh.
Yeah.
As I'm trying to go jump with Eleanor.
Yes, I particularly like people who are not paying attention.
I knew it was coming. I ran.
This is the funny part. You don't outrun that truck. It's way too fast.
It's so true. It's so true.
Just depends who's driving, if you get hit or not.
Yeah.
Anyways, I never would have hit you.
Oh, of course not. No.
Absolutely not.
I don't trust you. It was so good, though. I like Friendsgiving. We also do Friendsmas. So that's coming up, too. So it'll be great. Now we have lots of fun traditions.
We definitely do. We laugh a lot and get to hang out a lot. And other fun things. Going on some trips.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Should be good. And we got to try a reel or something. We could do some funny things after this.
I think we should. We should laugh. Like, it's fun talking about growth, but it's hard work. So I think we should also laugh a little on Instagram, right?
Yeah, we should laugh a little bit on Instagram. This week on Instagram would be worth watching.
Yeah, we're doing something fun, some training.
Yeah, some training around restorative justice stuff.
Yeah, you wrote me into that.
Yeah, I did.
It's not my job, really, but it is a little bit.
There is a little bit, but no, it's going to be fun, and we won't spill the beans too much. But restorative justice, and this week is the training around, like, all the circle training. It's like a way in which we can have important conversations and make sure that everyone gets heard.
Yeah. It's going to be really good. We should talk about it next week once we've done it.
Yeah, we'll give a better definition and some of those kind of things. But on our stories, hopefully we'll do some Insta stories about it and explain a little bit more about it. And people can see what else we're up to. This week, though, stances. Part 2.
Subtypes.
Damn. This week, though.
Try again.
If you use the right influx, people are going to definitely listen to this episode and be like, oh man, that was some good stuff.
If they listen to all our fun plans, if they're like, whatever, skip.
Oh, no. I'm sure everybody wants to hear what we're up to.
Obviously.
Yeah. You just about got hit by a truck on the weekend. This is exciting stuff.
That's totally what we should intro with next time.
That I was driving. Anyways, I am looking forward to talking about subtypes, though, and this is part 2 of our first part. So if you are listening today and this is your first time, I mean, just jump back a couple of weeks and listen to the first one where we kind of explained it even more in depth at the beginning of that episode, and then we did the 8, 9, and the 1, which is the body type or the gut triad. And so today we're just going to kick it off at the 2 and make our way around and finish up at the 7. So it should be pretty fun.
Yeah. And the first part, we really, like you said, explain a lot. We really set the groundwork for what this is. And mostly the focus is where your attention goes.
Yeah.
So it's not a ton of explaining every type.
Yeah. Pretty minimal description of each type. And then the 3 kind of subtypes and how each number might wear that set of glasses, so to speak. And maybe even how they particularly stack up.
It helps you to see your number in a more specific way.
Yeah. And this, I think we said this in the intro of the last week, but it's it is one of those things where it's sometimes you look at, 2 7s and you go, well, how could that person be a 7? They're nothing like the 7 I know, or whatever, any number. And oftentimes it's because your subtype is different. Yeah. You're just seeing it a little bit differently, how you're living life or doing life.
It was really helpful to me. We spent a long time trying to figure out our subtypes. It did take us a while, both of us, but it was really helpful once I understood it.
I've been encouraging people to not rush through the finding out your number or finding out your subtype conversation. I think sometimes we're just obsessed with finding out the answer. And the reality is that the growth takes place in all the questions.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's slowing down, finding your type and doing the work of listening and paying attention to what really is happening inside of you and all of those things it's the growth.
That's good advice. That is actually really good, because I think it's really easy to just want to jump to knowing. Yeah. And that also isn't settling either. Yeah.
And I do think that's if the point is growth, then, the diagnostic part is a part of that. It's being curious. It's finding out the different things and the nuances to your type, to your number, to your story, to all that kind of stuff. So, yeah. And of course, it does help to have good friends and or a coach or somebody that's sitting next to you, kind of asking some of those kinds of questions, encouraging you to keep asking those questions, because it can be really scary too. Hey, we're always glad that you like and subscribe and join and follow and make comments and give reviews. Yeah, I'll throw this out. I love it when people reach out for 15-minute typing conversations, and I am taking clients, so I love that too. We hope you enjoy this part 2 of the subtypes. Boy, I feel like you should describe the
2.
Where does the energy of the 2 go?
To people and their feelings. That's a lot of where the energy of the 2 goes, especially important and specific people in their life usually.
And that energy is going there because they want to
help to earn love.
Yeah, they're called the helper, right?
Yeah. I don't like that one, but yeah. I feel like it doesn't describe it enough, but that's for another day.
The depth of how much you want to help.
Yeah, it's just not always about being helpful. It's sometimes about I don't think 2s always see themselves as helpful. So I think that's why it's a hard term to use, because they're critical of how they're helping, or they're just naturally doing it and not seeing it. Yeah. So I think it's a hard term to relate to. That's partly why I just am I wish there was a different word, because then it doesn't feel like it describes you.
Well, you're good at this. I think you should keep going. What's self-pres 2? What does that look like?
Yeah. Well, That's me. So it's specific people. You have certain kind of feelings. You're going to have to explain this because I don't remember this from the podcast, but can have a flavor for a tantrum, which I didn't remember. I was trying to re-listen and find that part. But okay, you can explain that in a second. I'll finish talking about it. They have a need to have others actually take care of them and be protected. And a lot of their attention really goes towards like nurturing and supporting and helping others. And it can kind of lead them to being entitled sometimes because you believe that your needs are important and someone should take care of them, but you're not willing to say what they are.
Yeah, you're going to hate this. I did not repeat this to you, but I did hear, and in fact, I didn't send you this podcast.
You didn't?
The one I heard this term that I'm about to say, because I was like, no, she doesn't need to hear this. But today it sounds like a great time to burst your bubble.
Okay, great.
The self-pres 2 is the baby of the Enneagram.
Oh, that makes sense.
Like that's how they talk about it. It's kind of like, because home, safety, like remember self-pres, home, safety, all those kinds of things.
They get their needs met by being like a child.
Sometimes. Yeah. So that's the tantrum me part, is that sometimes when those needs don't get met, they can become upset. Like tantrum is like
an aggressive,
pretty aggressive, far out there kind of a way, but no, they can pout about it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, and often people have a need to protect you if you're self-preservation.
Absolutely.
Too.
Yeah, we've talked about that.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, you have people in your life that want to protect you. Well, and having an autoimmune disease definitely like helps.
Kind of elevated the status of things in the last few years, but but that is like, you naturally can get your needs met by being childlike and cute, and often that's part of what a self-pres 2 looks like.
Yeah, and this is the deal though, right? If you can be aware of that, right, then you don't manipulate people so they take care of you. I don't actually see you doing that.
No, I hope not. Oh my gosh. If you're like, and also we have something to talk about
I should
today.
have come with my list and be like, well, here's all the places I've seen it, Tara. No, but I don't actually see all that much of it, but I definitely feel that way.
Yeah.
We're good friends. We've worked together. I definitely want to protect you.
And I didn't see it before until I started looking at this. I didn't see that people were trying to protect me. So that's part of it, because it's just instinctual. Yep. So, okay, social 2s. They're often the influential or even kind of powerful looking ones, and they'll use the relationships to gain. So sometimes this actually looks like a 3, and they're more in tune with people's and empathize with people's needs. And it's about the group again. So they can win over a room. They're often the people at the front, those kind of things. And they feel it's really important to be like allied with the right people. So they look for the important people in the room.
So you just made that sound really bad, but it's also this way too. The social 2 is like the double down 2.
How did I make it sound bad? I'm offended now.
Well, you made it sound a little bit like the social 2 is manipulating or working the system to find their way.
Called myself childlike and tantrumy. I think they're equally.
No, I think I'm feeling defensive. I'm feeling defensive for the you and the 2s out there.
Okay.
But, no, in a lot of ways, the social instinct and the main goal of the 2, they look and sound a lot alike.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, sometimes even when I'm typing somebody in an interview, they'll say things and I'm like, oh, that's it. They're 2. But as we ask more questions, I start realizing, they're probably a social instinct something other number.
Oh, interesting, because it's kind of the stereotypical.
Yes. So you start to hear that just a little bit. Because like you said, they look like a 3.
Yeah, they can, because you sometimes wouldn't assume they're a 2.
Yeah.
Just from the way that they're willing to win over the group.
But if you imagine a social instinct 2 leading a group, powerful gift of being able to see what people need, know what people need.
And bring them together.
Yeah. And then lead those people.
Yeah.
You want to do that last one?
Yeah. But now I'm like, okay, now I'm going to make it sound negative.
No, I just was teasing you a little bit.
I know, it's fine. This is the part that I actually made me come ask you about this, but they're more laser focused on a partner or potential partner is what the description has. They're often more charming and generous.
Here it comes. Drum roll, please, everybody. What's that last one? Here it comes. 2s are
seductive. You win. Yep, that's your favorite word. All 2s seduce, unfortunately. But this one has a greater capacity for interpersonal and making connections. So they're more using those skills to win the approval of like individuals.
In one-on-one relationships.
Yeah.
We were making jokes about this, but they have the capacity to connect with others on a heart level that is really beautiful.
Yeah. And they also can, I think, see things in the world that are a lot more like dreamy and romantic and have the ability to slow down and be in those moments with people.
Great counselors.
Yeah.
Although you're not supposed to use the pioneering instinct as much in counseling because you want to make a connection to the point, you want to make a social connection.
Yeah. Not as deep.
But not as deep as that straight up, pioneering or sexual connection. I say, like, once again, sexual comes up and it makes it sound
But
weird,
also to have this sizzle, it actually requires two people.
Exactly.
So, and a counselor can't do that.
Yeah, you don't want that.
No, you don't want them revealing the hard things about their lives.
Yeah, as soon as they start telling you that their cat passed away in your counseling session.
And crying.
And crying. And you're like, oh, I'm really sorry that you feel that way. Guess what? Time to find a new counselor. Oh, man. Did we already tell the massage story? Did we tell that in our ministry episode?
I don't remember. I don't think so.
Lord, should we have a little interlude?
Yeah, I think so. I think
we all
you should
need
tell
a little
it.
break for a
because
sec?
also, this is what's so funny about this can happen. It actually relates to people with the sexual instinct.
Yes.
That they find themselves in situations where there's some sizzle or caring for people.
Yeah. There definitely are times, like we are stepping away from the two for a second here.
Yeah.
We're jumping into. There are times where the sexual instincts person's desire to connect and have that sizzle conversation can be misunderstood by others as actual, like actually being hit on or actually trying to find something that's deeper than.
Or a friendship that, it's your job.
Yeah. And that's not always really what's happening. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's just caring. Okay, funny story. It's like a few years ago. I was actually going through a pretty rough time. I went to get a massage, and I won't say, mostly to relax because I carry a lot of stress and tension in my body. So when hard things are happening, my body shows it. My back in particular gets really sore.
Because you're not self-preservation.
Yes, there you go. Yeah. And I don't even know it. Mm-hmm. I don't notice it until it happens. Oh my gosh. So I'm getting this massage and I'm laying there and, like you don't wear a lot of clothes when you're getting a massage, just to make it really weird for our listeners. For those who haven't been to a massage, they make you take your clothes off.
Awkward.
Okay. I'm laying there, I'm getting a massage, and I tell this lady that I'm a pastor and I care for people and all these kind of and everything. I think I had said to her, I'm in the people care business because I often wouldn't tell people I was a pastor.
No, you told her that day you were a pastor. Because this is also the downside of being a pastor.
Yes, this is also the downside. So I told her that, but I think I'd said I'm in people care, and she asked me more specifically, and then I said, well, I'm a pastor. Anyways, she starts telling me about a relationship she has that's not going well. And I'm laying there, like getting massage. And I'm like, oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. I probably said something. I can't remember what it was. Some bit, probably Enneagram wisdom. I'm sure it was.
It's obviously.
All of a sudden, her hands stop moving. And I can hear it.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, what's happening behind me? And it gets worse. And I realize she's crying. And so I said, are you okay? And she goes, I don't think so. This legit happened, Tara.
I know. I was at the office when you came back.
I realized my massage is over. We're not going back to, you give me the rest of my half-hour massage or whatever. So I wrap the sheet around myself and sit up and start talking to this lady about her broken relationship with her partner. And of course, it gets, that's weird enough. Mm-hmm. At least it felt that way for me. And she has broken every rule of what she is supposed to be doing in terms of giving me my massage. And so she knows that if I say what's happened, she loses her job. I guarantee she'd have lost her job. And so I didn't want to have that happen. And so I sat there for like a full half an hour like that, talking to her about her relationship and what maybe she needs to think about and some of those things. It was actually a really hard relationship thing. It wasn't like she didn't have anything to cry about. It was a difficult time for her.
And then came back to the office not rested.
Yeah. You and I think Preston was there too.
Yeah, you told us.
He's like, yeah, how did it go? Do you feel like it was good? I was like, huh? It was actually one of the strangest hours I've ever had.
We all laughed pretty hard about it, but it was, not good for her. And didn't you meet her after too?
Yeah, I went for coffee with her afterwards a few days later to see how she was doing.
Maybe just pick a different profession when you go in to have a massage next time.
So 3's energy goes towards getting things done, making things happen. The list of things to do, the goals, they're typically quite busy and want to get things done. They outrun feelings. And in a way, they're busy so they can outrun the feelings that they are feeling.
Yeah, they have them.
They have them. But a lot of 3's will tell you, no, I don't have, I'm just getting stuff done. Mm-hmm. But if you know a 3 and you're watching a 3, you're going, wow, there's just feelings everywhere. Right? Well, they're getting stuff done. It's
so
happening.
true.
Okay. So where does their attention go? The self-pres attention goes lots of attention on what needs to be done. Okay. That self-preservation instinct also, what is the right thing to do? This particular instinct or subtype also can struggle with becoming too involved with their role at work. They can have it potentially kind of rob them of their true identity. So they can become their jobs. Yeah. In a lot of ways, and which is probably great at work, but not so good everywhere else.
Their performance reviews are probably amazing.
Yep, get huge performance reviews. But if their kids and spouse was filling out their performance review,
not so much.
Well, sometimes this isn't entirely true for everyone, but even a self-pres person can turn their family into a to-do list, and that can be a dangerous thing for them. So they have to be kind of aware of some of those kinds of things. Yep. They turn their home right into things that need to be done. The social 3's can be really quite focused on the big picture of looking good. Their image can become really, really important. So they are trying to be flawless individuals. Yeah. And if there are people around them in the social environments that they're in or at their workplace, they are trying to win. They had a pretty strong competitive streak in the social 3. They want to be one. They want to be number one. They can make themselves appear, in an effort to be number one. They can make themselves appear to be the leader, can appear to be the best person. All of those kind of things can take place. They're pretty focused on making their image look good.
Yeah, and is that true of 3's just in general?
Yeah, in general, that's the big picture. That can be the bigger picture. Although I would say some 3's who are aware of that, oh man, they can make it even their business about making other people look good, and they can have a sense of pride with standing behind the person that's looking good, going, "I did all that. I made that happen for them." Oh boy, social 3 Instagram page is curated. It is. It looks really good. Yeah, they typically are really focused on making sure that those on the team are thriving and winning, because that's really important to them. So if they're the leader,
everybody around them has to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. A social 3 person who's leading an organization and has somebody that is underachieving, a 3 will typically tell them that. And if the 3 believes they could succeed if they would just, like a 3 will tell you, if you would just, you could succeed here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of those kind of things. But, social 3 people, if you tell if a 9 who's having a hard time getting stuff done tells a social 3 person that they need help on organizing their list of to-do things, a 3 just eat that up. Yeah. They really can be really good partners and help each other that way. Sexual or pioneering 3's, very good image to their significant others. They want to look good.
Yeah, to the specific people.
Yep. Specific people in particular, leaders. They're obviously they're significant. They're powerful people. They want to appear to be very mentally stable and strong. Their desire to be strong is really important. They want their image to be appealing to others. Yeah, so they can focus on pleasing others, and it's not always what it's what they imagine others would want. Yeah, so even when I was leading organizations, sometimes you have a 3 sit down in front of me and they'd tell me all the things that they're doing, except that was never my goal. My goal is always, how are you doing? Yeah. Now, what are you doing? How are you doing? Yeah. And drive them bonkers. And we should bring that up when we do our Enneagram 3 conversation. So, but once they figure it out, I'm thinking of a particular 3 I know. Once they figured out that what I wanted was to know how they were doing, they would do it first.
I was going to say too, I was working with one and they said to me, it's like my love language when people help chase down the details.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. And also as a 2, I was like, no problem.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
I can chase the details. Yeah. 4s?
Yeah, force.
4s focus on what's happening to them in their own interior life. So they're thinking about that. They typically, they're dreamers a little bit. So they have a fantasy of what things should be like, and even what they should be like in the context of it, and how others should respond to them. Sometimes they can focus on what or how they aren't good enough.
It was this morning I saw an Instagram post. I almost sent it to you. It was on a different account though. That Glennon Doyle, her wife, was filming her and she was looking at like, I don't know, her phone and all the news, and she's a 4 and was like, it's just too much. It's all too much. It's never good. It's just all overwhelming. And she was like having a really sad moment, and they posted it and were like, follow for more inspirational content. But that's sometimes where they can go.
Yeah.
Their minds can kind of
go into those
the spiral.
spaces. Yeah. And now, depending on their instinct, it can really play out quite different. So this is an important one. If you're a 4, understanding your instincts can be so helpful to understanding yourself. It's good for all numbers, but this one can be really good. So self-preservation 4s, they work hard to prove themselves, helping people internalize their feelings. They are people who, these people struggle with, they want material security feelings, but they want to be detached from it all. So they want it, but they don't want it to like affect who they are and the uniqueness of them.
You have a 4 voice. Do you know that?
Yeah, but so they can be really courageous, because if you imagine having to live in that world, it takes great courage to live in that world.
Yeah, I also read that they would like, they're more willing to like move or change their environment than other types.
Absolutely. I do at times get confused with 4s sometimes. So I'll make that I'll confess that here. That is kind of one of those that I find is really, really, really interesting. Although I am completely convinced that 4s are some of the most courageous people I know.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. Even when you just think of what's kind of going on for them and what they are working through.
Yeah, just like to be able to sit in the pain with people and
their own pain and articulate, and they don't rush out of it. It just to me as a 7, I just look at it and go, that takes an incredible amount of bravery, because it's the thing I'm avoiding.
Yeah.
So I will look at them and just go, wow, they're impressive people. And then they bring beauty out of it. They turn it into beauty. Social 4s, they are comparing themselves to others, and they're feeling less than in a lot of ways. They have some envy challenges there. They'll amp up the drama sometimes in situations to feel important.
Man, me and this 4 have a thing in common. They're my flavor for tantrums, and they're amp up the drama. Yeah.
And they'll amp up the drama so that they can even solve it.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it can get a little bit confusing. This subtype feels a little bit of a sense of deficiency in some social situations. So they'll be in a group of people. They can see the needs of the group and all this thing, but because they're internalizing and thinking about themselves in a lot of ways, they're seeing how they're not helpful. So they see the negative side of a deficiency in a group, rather than amping up the gifts of some other people in the group. They can sometimes see how they aren't enough. And even in some social instinct groups, I think that they can also see the good in other people and struggle with that they aren't that good, that they don't have that gift that others do. So it can be hard. Yeah. So the social instinct person feels most envious to those with status, and or those who feel like they have a better sense of belonging in the group that they're in. Okay. Sexual 4s, they focus on the outside world and how it isn't validating enough. So competition, they focus on what's irritating. They'll express anger, actually, more clearly and quickly about what's irritating them.
But it's not looking at it from a sense of deficiency.
No, it's more like you aren't others. The others, in particular, their intense relationships are not measuring up to what they should be, and they'll find themselves sometimes expressing it. Yeah. So a sexual 4 who's in a relationship with somebody really needs to be aware of that.
Yeah.
That, that they probably are looking at their significant other going, "You're not enough."
Yeah, or someone close to them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So the sizzle is more about the other. The lack of sizzle is more about the other person than it is about them. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they have to provide it.
Exactly. Okay. 5s?
Yeah, 5s.
Okay. So remember, 5s are always trying to conserve energy. I feel like you should talk more. I'm talking way too much.
Okay, I can talk about 5s. You're the certified coach?
Yes, but you talk and I'll jump in.
Okay, cool. Yeah, they're trying to conserve energy and avoiding anything that takes away their energy kind of at all times. That's an overwhelming thing to them. So self-preservation 5s really try to control the space and control the energy, more so probably than the other 5s. Mm-hmm. They're good at establishing the boundaries with other people and really are aware when they need to be alone. But they will minimize their needs and often look for that safe space. Do you have any more to say about them?
No, I think that's like the self-pres 5 is the typical 5 that you see.
Oh, okay. It's like the typical description.
Yes. Yeah. They look kind of a lot like a 5.
Yeah. They're also called like the keeper of the castle or something like that. There's something about like protecting their space. Social. They control their time, especially using their time to learn something. So they're more about gaining knowledge and then using it to connect with other people. And they're looking for the people that have the similar intellectual interests and probably can match them in that space. And they're the ones that can connect a little bit easier with others, especially when they know a lot about that certain area of expertise.
Yeah. 5s will make their friends groups separate.
Oh, like not mix them.
Yes, they won't mix their friend groups.
Dependent on interests?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you got, my son he's a gamer.
Yeah.
He has his gaming friends. He has his, right. And some other, like he has his online gaming friends. Then he has his like World of Warcraft game, like in-person friends. And he has like, they're all.
Everybody doesn't hang out. They're all separate based on what thing they do together, what hobby.
Yeah. And he feels no need to bring those groups together.
Oh, funny. And you do. Like you would.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be like, wouldn't it be great to have all my friends at one party?
I sometimes find it so much work.
Yeah.
To mix groups that I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. Like it would be work on me to make sure that they're connected and included in the group. So I'm like, oh, that seems like a very busy party.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's your neglected instinct?
Yeah, my social one. I know. I said it for that reason.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So anyways, that's interesting. Okay. Anything else on the social?
No, I don't think so. I think they just keep in mind, they are learners and they like to be the expert on things. So if they can be in a social group where they're the expert or they at least feel very comfortable about a topic, they'll feel safe there.
Yeah. And that's probably how they're surrounding themselves with those people.
Yeah. One thing I would say about a 5, a social instinct 5 will not call somebody in a group out. If they're leading that group, they will not call somebody out in a group who doesn't know something about the topic.
Would they tell them ever?
Yeah, like no, I mean it's a caring thing that they're doing.
No, I understand that. I just meant like if it's
they might. Yeah, it depends, I guess, on what the topic is,
but not probably in front of everybody. Never. Yeah.
No, I wouldn't believe they would do that ever.
Yeah. Sexual 5s or pioneering is they pay attention to how often others can teach them. Okay, I don't know what that means.
You're looking for places to learn.
Oh, from others. So the sizzle comes from learning from someone then. Okay. Yeah. And they can pay attention a little bit more to their inner life and their feelings. And they have a bit of a secretive quality to them. So they're often perceived as a little bit more reserved.
Or just not as quite as, it's kind of an interesting thing. Somebody I know, really deep person. He's actually really quite in touch with his feelings, his intellect. He's managed to figure out kind of those two things together, but you never knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
It was secretive. So all of a sudden it was like, what? That's
It's like
happening?
a surprise.
Yeah, and he's decided, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. So they're a little bit more in touch with those things and willing to go there, but
Yeah,
not probably going to be saying it out loud too much.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
6s?
6s, oh man, they're great at detecting inconsistencies. They're called the loyalist. They are worst case scenario people. Like they will think about what could go wrong oftentimes. And so they are particularly focused on safety and how do you do something? What's the right way to do something so the least amount of things could go wrong. That's where their energy goes. Imagine in a group, the self-preservation 6 is mostly on people and how they can turn enemies into friends. The loyalist part is kind of how are they going to do that? Because if you turn an enemy into a friend, it lessens the threat.
Right.
So
It's a good strategy.
Yeah, less danger, right? They often though can be more fearful than others, right? Because a self-preservation person is trying to stay safe, and so is the 6.
So it kind of doubles down.
Doubles down. It's like the double down number that's present there. They'll usually overcome this fear by making connections, agreements, contracts, those kinds of things with other people. And this is done kind of in a warm sort of a way. Like it's really important that 6s that are listening to this do not hear that they are doomsday people.
Right.
In fact, they are just ready for a doomsday. They're prepared. And honestly, if something starts going wrong and a 6 is around, they often know what to do. Keep people safe, keep all those things, right? They know those things. That's the self-preservation. We're going to hear about it even more in a second, but like when we get into the social ones, but they don't want to be left alone. They want to work with others. They want to help figure out all those things.
Yeah. And often you're right. They're not doomsday kind of scary, negative people.
No, really not.
Yeah.
Social instinct 6s, good rules keep people safe. So they do like to work on policies and procedures and all of those kind of things because it does keep people safe. They would take it upon themselves to make sure that the right rules and things are in place so that others would be kept safe. So they own that think about it in a business context, right? Like a self-preservation 6 in a planning session, a dreaming session, is thinking about what could go wrong for the organization and how do you work towards keeping people safe in the organization. There might be a moment when they go, no, where you could understand a social 6 as pulling back on the reins in a planning session, when really what they're trying to do is solidify and keep safe the group so that it can move forward in a even more successful and productive way. I've had challenges with 6s where I'm like, wow, you're making this go too slow.
They're trying to contribute to it.
Yeah, they're trying to contribute to its safety and its longevity and well-being in like just about every way.
Yeah.
But boy, it gets confused. You can really mix that up and cause conflict in your office. Yeah, they're typically logical people. They're rational people. They find safety in following the guidelines in the system. You write a good policy, you can follow it. It's just like that. They're practical too about it, which is great.
Yeah, at least there's that.
It's not like, let's just write a whole bunch of policies with big words that we can't understand. A 6
And
doesn't
nobody can
typically do that.
Yeah, they actually want it to be very functional.
Yeah, exactly. The pioneering or the risk-taking 6, they are expressing strength. They are expressing a readiness to go for it, even the danger. But whatever the danger is, they are kind of willing to kind of go after it. They're going to try to go after it with their intellect, right? So they'll use their power of intellect to go after a problem in a work environment or even in a relationship. The other way that they handle self-doubt and fear is by using their imagination to see the beauty in something. I really don't feel like I've done a good job of this one, but they will primarily focus on the individuals and how to keep those people who they have sizzle with safe. and they'll protect them in those kinds of ways. They're so loyal sometimes to those people that they can become a little bit clouded on the other things.
And are they a little bit more willing? They're a little bit more aggressive and almost like braver.
Yes,
in a way.
A lot of courage. Because if you imagine that at the core of a 6 is to quickly see what could go wrong. But 6s are not all paralyzed by what could go wrong. They're quite brave. And
some of them make a plan. Some of them figure out how to protect the group, play that out. And then some of them are like, we're just going to face it.
Yeah. So if you imagine it this way, the self-pres 6 is trying to protect themselves. Mm-hmm. The social self-pres 6 is trying to protect the group. Mm-hmm. And the sexual is trying to protect a significant other or others that they have a sizzle with. Yeah. So they're trying to protect their kids or those kind of things. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's better.
Yeah. Oh,
hey,
man.
Your favorite number.
Oh, my favorite number. Except whenever I get here, I always feel negative.
I know. Don't worry. I'll point it out.
I think that's pretty common for the Enneagram work.
Yeah, I think so. When you're like, that usually means it's something.
Yes, we hear our own number and it can just feel like we have so much to learn and so much to grow in.
Yeah, you said that to me actually the day we were showing me those notes. You were like, yeah, it's selfish. And I was like, I don't hear it that way.
Yeah, it is funny. Yeah, yeah, we did. That's right. My texting you was like, oh man, that just sounds terrible. And we were listening to a different podcast that was kind of going through some things. Anyway, okay, 7s, they're looking for opportunities to be healthy, right? To be engaged, they're looking for mental stimulation. They love making associations.
Yeah, what does that mean?
You've pointed this out before to me. I'm trying to think of an example. I can make a connection between two things that are completely the opposite to most people. Yeah, but this is how this looks.
Yeah.
My capacity to rationalize and go, well, no, these are two completely separate situations, but I can see how the thought process is probably similar, right? So
and quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. So I can make those connections, future possibilities, and things to learn. I do actually get excited about the things I don't know because I do see them as things to learn. We're going to start this way. Self-preservation 7s. They're looking for opportunities for themselves. They're looking for new pathways to get what they want. This is what sounded so selfish, right? To get what they want.
Right?
Yeah, it sounded that way. To get what they want. They can make things happen for themselves. They have to have things to look forward to every day. A self-pres 7. In other words, they wake up like, what do I love? One thing to I'm having the best steak for supper tonight. And I'm looking forward to that all day. Or I get to hang out with somebody, my besties or my whatever kind of thing. So they will look forward to those kinds of things together. They're obviously dreamers, so they are definitely thinking about projects and things like that. So that's the self-pres. All right, we'll go through them all and then you can ask me about an example. Self-pres is my neglected.
Yeah.
So ask me about that at the end.
Okay.
Social, how they can make other people happy. How they can take away the pain of the world and contribute to other people feeling better.
It's not selfish.
It's not selfish. You are right. Good point. They will often work towards the greater group or society or those kind of things. And they are willing to make sacrifices when working with others. They are good at seeing opportunities, but don't want to be perceived as being self-interested. In other words, they don't want people to think or see that they're selfish, even though they actually are really quite selfish. Okay. They do want the biggest piece of pie, even though they don't want to say it.
And they won't take it.
Yeah, and they won't take it. So they'll often sacrifice their desires to be helpful to others. And then the pioneer, the sexual instinct, is very focused on ideals. They like to envision something positive, all the ways that they can spin something positive or rationalize something so that it comes out positive for themselves and for others. So they are good at reframing things, and definitely have examples from my own story of how these things play out for me. They usually see things as they could be instead of how they truly are. So this can be a bit of a challenge. And they also have the great power of suggestion. They're always making suggestions. And, so you want to hear some examples of all of them from me?
Yeah.
I'll give you examples in ministry, how this played out for me when I was leading a group. Oftentimes I'd make connections with people, find the sizzle with people, and really it was always in an effort to get them to join our group. Whether that was our youth ministry, whether that was our church at Lake Ridge or whatever that was be. So I'd make a connection with somebody over coffee, all that kind of things. It felt like a sizzle conversation, which I'm always working towards. And they'd come to church thinking they were my best friend. And of course, in that context, there was 100 and some odd people, or 150 people. I just simply couldn't pay attention to every person. And sometimes people would get their feelings hurt.
Yeah.
I didn't see them or connect with them on a Sunday morning. And they thought that, of course, Evan would do that. Right. But it was simply my deep desire to connect with the person in front of me, have that sizzle conversation with the person in front of me at Starbucks when I was having a coffee that they misinterpreted at times.
Yeah. And when you said join our group, you don't mean like trick them.
No.
Like you just mean like you want them to be included and a part of it.
Exactly. And know that they were included. And I also believed that our group was the best group going.
Yeah.
So I wanted everybody to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So that was the social instinct of kind of wanting to draw people in and to think about that. I most definitely made a great deal of sacrifices to my own personal wellness in order to see our group succeed. So that was the social instinct that kind of played out. And that's why when we first started learning about the instincts, I didn't know which one I was. And I did eventually come to the space where I think my sexual instinct at the time, at least, and probably still is, was stronger than my social instinct. My social instinct contributed to creating an environment where I could have sizzle conversations. But when I really played out, I think I was mostly interested in that sizzle. Yeah, the connection.
And that's the part where you're not thinking about him.
Yeah, exactly. I did both of those things. I scored actually in the actual test. Yeah. I scored very highly in both of these instincts and very low in the self-preservation instinct. In other words, I would do those other two things to the detriment of my.
But we're all kind of doing that in some way because we have one that we're not paying attention to.
Yeah.
Like I'm not paying attention to my social one. Although I'm a 2, so there is a little bit of like it's there. It's there. It's just not prominent for me. And because I have a chronic illness, my self-preservation, especially in the last couple of years, has been off the chart.
Yeah, it has to play out louder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In order to take care of that. So
yeah. The self-preservation thing that's fallen off for me is I'm working towards getting what I want is really hard. And I'm seeing it now.
What do you mean?
I want people to hire me so that I can buy groceries. And I need to do the better job of that, marketing myself and, all of those kinds of things, because that's how you do business. Talking myself up, doing Instagram posts, all those kind of things. It feels very unnatural. Yeah. And probably because it feels selfish.
Right. Yeah.
Which is probably why that's what I noticed.
And
the most.
there isn't a way to have a sizzle in that kind of context. No, you're talking to a camera and a screen. Yeah. When you're in front of people, it's different.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But it feels like I think it's harder to have an interaction back. I think that's why I struggle with it too. There is interaction and it can have that sizzle, but it's harder to get there than it is when you're in person with someone and in front of them.
Well, and this is just it, right? It's like when you do an Instagram post, you're trying to like make a deep connection with the world. It's crazy, like your listeners or whatever, all those kind of things. But really what you're looking for is a sizzle. Like obviously sexual instinct people are, interested in their bodies and being attractive. That's probably why, I make sure I got my hair all in order and all that kind of stuff. No, I'm making jokes, but
yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it is challenging, I think, that way. But once you're in front of people, it feels different. And also you had a profession where you were in front of people for 28 years.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah,
like you could use it. So you have to learn anyway. And it's hard. Yeah.
We just did all the numbers.
I know. We did it all.
Yeah. But here's what I would say as we kind of, as a kind of we wrap it up and we kind of get to it. It's like, remember the Enneagram isn't just about a diagnostic tool. So it's not just about finding your instincts in how they stack up and your type. It's about growth. So how do we grow in these things? And I would argue with anyone that understanding your instinct and the way in which you are living out your type change the way that you are in your relationships with your friends, with your partner, with your work and office people, and every interaction and relationship that you have. Recognizing that a pioneering person Right. So a sexual instinct person may at times come in opposition to a self-pres person who's in a business organization. If you think about it this way, the sexual instinct people are willing to take a bigger risk with that business.
Yeah.
They are. They want to dream. Remember, things not growing are things that are dead. A self-preservation person is not against growth.
Mm-hmm.
They're just about making sure that it's done safely. If those two people get in a dreaming session or a planning session, they can find themselves feeling like they're opposing each other when really they're both trying to pull in the same direction, just differently.
Yeah. And it's been talked about too with self-preservation people in organizations that they create the structures and the systems. Yeah. So they're willing to do more of the implementation and they're thinking more of that way.
Yeah, exactly. And this was, we can give real life example, like for you and I.
Yeah.
I was pushing, push. And there were moments when you were like, you're pushing too hard on this or too far on this.
Yeah.
But we need to make sure that this is ready before we go telling everybody we're doing it.
Yeah.
And there were, you were in communications. There were a few moments where I was like, but we're doing it, Tara. So let's just start telling people. It's like, and you were trying to protect the organization.
Yeah. And the reputation of the organization.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So you were doing your job.
Yeah.
And I was the leader of the organization and I was doing my job. Mm-hmm. And when we were able to talk to each other, we probably came up with a more social solution for how the whole group was going to move forward together. That makes for a great team.
Yeah. And when we know where each other is at, then I'm not concerned that you're not going to pay attention to the structures.
Exactly.
Because I know you'll hear me.
Yep.
And we had that trust too, which is good. But I can then dream with you a little bit and not feel like we're going to miss something.
Yeah. Yeah. So a little bit is just being aware enough of realizing, I might be pushing so fast that not everybody is able to.
Or you would do the thing where you would actually name what the structure would be or suggest a structure of some kind so I could calm down before it even got too far.
Yeah.
That you would show that you were thinking about it too. That's all I really needed. So if you could be aware to say that, then that's helpful, right? Mm-hmm. Like when you're naming, if you know where you stand and you're able to say, okay, someone's going to be worried about the group here and someone's going to be worried about the individuals or the organization protecting it.
Yep.
Then you can actually name those things and everybody can contribute.
In a relationship with a partner, how does it play out?
I'm not convinced I know what my husband's instinct is, but I think it is helpful in the same sort of way where like if I'm always trying to preserve everything, like when we plan to go on a vacation and I'm like, I'm going to be worried about the food and how much this is going to cost. And he's like, what fun are we going to have?
Yeah.
So those kind of things.
Are
like
we going to be safe in the place we're sleeping?
Yeah. Well, I feel safe when we went to South Africa out in wandering the streets. What things do we need to do in order for me to feel safe and that we're protecting our baby and whatever. And he's like, let's enjoy this experience. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. Let's get in some trouble, let's have an experience.
Yeah, let's just go down the street. We don't know where this goes. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
No. I actually wasn't like that. But
I'm sure you weren't. But this is kind of how it can play out in your finances in a relationship. A self-preservation person is going to be on top of their finances and trying to make sure that the finances are safe. It doesn't mean they're cheap.
No.
It just means they're planning. Sometimes the sexual instinct person is taking risks with the finances. And boy, in a marriage that we know that can create great tension across the board, all those kinds of things. If the social instinct person is always worried about in a relationship is always worried about all their friend group, right? And the self-pres person in that relationship is actually worried about keeping their home safe and all those things and doesn't wants you to think about them and that, and or even the sexual part. The socialite is out there just having all these surface level conversations with all of these people, and they're not having the sizzle conversations with their spouse, their partner. There can be tension.
Yeah, that's a good example.
Yeah. So it plays out in all those kind of areas, parenting, relationships, all that stuff. It's part of why I'm so convinced that the Enneagram can be such a helpful thing. It doesn't mean that you're just going to be able to stop it, but you can be aware of it. And if you can become aware of other people, you can also empathize to say, okay, their energy is going towards safety, home, resources, protection. His energy is going towards group dynamics. He feels safer when he is in a group of people. protected by them, also engaging them in their gifts and in all of their things. He's an immersion part of how he plays out. Or, they are pioneering instinctive people. They're looking for a sizzle with other people. You can feel, boy, you could get jealous if your partner was trying to have sizzle conversations with everybody. You might feel left out.
Yeah, that's true too.
So
yeah,
those are some
helpful.
of the ways that can play out, but also recognize it's like, oh no, that's not really what they're necessarily doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And you sometimes have to turn them down a little bit or turn them up a little bit.
Yeah.
So being aware of them means you can use them.
Yeah. And when we talk personal growth, then we do have to go, look, I can lead an organization. I can think wholeheartedly about the organization, its growth, it's all those things. I can sacrifice like crazy my social instinct to make sure that organization goes well. But I can only do that if I work on taking care of myself. Because as soon as I am so depleted or so broken or worn out, I can't take care of anybody. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good way of thinking about it.
So we have to think about those things and vice versa. All of the things. If you do too much self-pres and you never work to find close connection with the sizzle, guess what you're going to start saying? Well, I'm at home, I'm safe, and I'm lonely because nobody knows me. And all of those things, they all play out that way.
And having a common language, like that's also what the Enneagram and this has given us too, is a common language to talk about things. So whether you're in a team environment or a relationship, knowing that is helpful and being able to talk about it together.
Yeah.
So even listening, like if you listen like we do and you listen to a podcast and you like it, share it with a friend or your spouse or someone that you care about that you want to hear this and have a common language with.
Yep.
It's one of the ways that our relationship has grown.
Yeah, absolutely. And common language is huge.
Yeah.
When Chris and I used to do the couples retreat, right? We'd always say,
that's where I got it from.
You want common language, find common language. It's so important. Yeah. Don't make up the definition of what your partner is saying or how they're saying it. Yeah. Have common language. The Enneagram can be really helpful for that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I'm assuming we're going to post a bunch of links and different things with information. Hopefully.
Yeah, I'll post all the resources and some other ones too if you want to learn about your type or if you want a typing session, you do that now.
Yes,
so that's an option or do coaching
absolutely.
Or whatever. So, and then what podcasts we like and books we like to read about the Enneagram if you're interested in more.
Hey, this was fun.
Yeah.
I hope this has intrigued people enough to, like, we have most definitely just skipped a rock across the surface here on this.
Yeah.
So I hope people continue to explore ways to grow.
Hey, thanks for joining us. We'd love if you take a moment to rate, subscribe, and review the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Again, thanks for listening.